So my guest today studied in South America, fell in love with Argentine football club Huracan, and when he came back to London, he did what any obsessive football fan would do. He named his Sunday league team after them. What happened next couldn't have been scripted. The real Huracan supporters in Argentina found out. A fan base grew across 2 continents, and Henry's team eventually flew to Buenos Aires to play in front of them. When he came home from that trip, he knew he had to do something meaningful with it. He founded the Huracan Foundation, backing teachers and community leaders in some of the world's most underserved communities, using football as the entry point for education, opportunity, and real social change. With projects in 18 countries and over 4,000 children reached, the numbers speak for themselves. But the stories behind them are something else. Henry, welcome to the Power of Sport.
Thanks very much. Great to be here, Xavier. Thanks very much, and excited to chat.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, look, take me back to that Sunday league team. What was it about the Huracan connection that made you think there's something bigger here?
Well, I think many great stories begin accidentally, and many great stories begin in pubs. And so this was just a bunch of mates from South London sat in a pub in Clapham thinking about starting a Sunday league team, as I'm sure many guys in their early 20s get together and say, hey, like, why don't we could set up a Sunday league team. And when it came to deciding the name, there was no real front runners, and I'd just come back from a gap year and being in Argentina, and had become a fan of a team in Argentina called Huracan. And I was like, well, why don't we call ourselves Huracan London? It kind of sounds kind of exotic. It has a cool kind of badge, this balloon. And my friends were like, kind of whatever. So we literally wrote down the name on the back of a beer mat and sent it into the Southern Sunday League. And that was it. And there was no real master plan of like, oh, this is going to connect us to the fans in Argentina, and we're going to set up a Facebook page. I don't think Facebook pages or even existed then. This was 2009. But then in 2010, get a message from a friend in Argentina who's heard about us. He's like, what? There's a team in London called Huracan London. You're running it. It's amazing. Set up a Facebook page. And I'm like, all right, we'll set up a Facebook page, and published results and so on. And then the whole thing just caught fire. I mean, the Huracan fans caught wind of it, and suddenly we had thousands of followers, and the rest is history.
Brilliant. And at that point, what tier in Argentinian football were they?
Huracan are one of Argentina's biggest teams. They are. I mean, I'm a Fulham fan, and I started to follow Huracan because they felt a bit similar to Fulham, but that's doing a disservice to Huracan. Really, Huracan are probably a team more in the ilk of kind of a West Ham and Aston Villa and Everton. You know, they've been in the top division for most of their history. They had a lot more success in the past, in the 20s and the 30s. They won the league in the 70s. They've won various cups over the years. And they have a 48,000 seater stadium in Buenos Aires, and are known as kind of the 6th biggest team in Argentinian football. So they're a pretty big team, pretty substantial.
They fill that ground. They fill that
for
ground?
Big games. Yeah, for big games they'll fill it, and they have probably 30,000 members, the equivalent of season ticket holders, 35,000. So it's a well supported team.
Great stuff. And at the time, I think you were working in a fairly tough South London school. And did that was there anything in that experience that kind of got you thinking about what football could do?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I mean, I was teaching in a very tough inner city school in Camberwell. It was shut down after I'd been there for 2 years because basically of problems with violence and gangs and murders. A pretty tough place. And I was given the instructions from the leadership team of the school of these kids just need their 5 A stars to C in GCSE to succeed in life. But I could see that they needed a lot more than that. And in my second year as a teacher, pretty much once we got the news of the school closing down, we set up the school's football team, which had been dormant for years. And honestly, I did more good through setting up the school's football team and working with the year 10 students on the football pitch than I ever did teaching them philosophy and RE in my classroom. I started to really understand what made them tick, build relationships with them, give them the opportunities to collaborate, to express themselves. We also had the chance to go and visit other schools and play games. We lost all of them apart from our last game, which heroically we went away to a private school in Sussex called Ardingly, and we got a last minute winner from screamer from outside the box.
Wow.
One of my most complicated students. So it's just like this amazing moment when Taiwo scores the winner. I was reffing the match, and I practically jump on top of my kids in the bundle. I'm like, come on! It's like the best moment I had as a teacher was probably that exact moment. And so parallel to Huracan London as a Sunday League team becoming kind of weirdly famous on social media and so on, a few of us were Teach First teachers, and a few of us were having these experiences in school with sport and seeing the power of sport with our students and seeing how much football could impact them positively. And so those two things would eventually collide, kind of the Huracan story and understanding of the power of what football could do.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And so your model's quite unusual, right? So am I right in saying you don't run the programs themselves, but you basically develop the teachers in the communities to go and run the programs? Do you create them? How does it work?
So just to maybe fill in the part of the story which gets us to the Huracan Foundation is after this incredible rise to fame of Huracan London being named after a team in Argentina, we started to accumulate all these fans on Facebook. We eventually traveled to Argentina, as you mentioned, to play a game in their stadium, to get paraded in front of the fans, to sign autographs, to go to the British Embassy, to be every VIPs in every nightclub of Buenos Aires. An incredible, unforgettable 3 weeks in Buenos Aires. And while we were there, we started selling lots of our shirts to the fans. Because the fans loved our shirt. We had a nice Nike shirt, and it was better than the actual club shirt. And so when we came back, we had a few grand, and we were like, well, what do we do with this? And some teachers in India who were participating in Teach for India, the same program as our program in the UK, Teach First, said, hey, we've got a football project and we need some funding and some support. Like, could we do a partnership? And we were like, sure, like take the money. But why don't you call your team Huracan India? And we'll create this kind of like group of Huracan projects around the world, where everyone adopts the name. We'll try and fundraise for the projects, and we'll see if we can turn this into a bit of a global movement. And the model, I think, began really because we realized there are lots of teachers, educators around the world that turn to football, that turn to sport, that maybe they're maths teachers, or maybe they're science teachers, or maybe they've never played football themselves really, but they can see how much it means to their kids. And so there's a gap there of like, well, they need a bit of support of like how to set up a meaningful football project. How do you run a session that makes sense and that makes an impact? How do you develop a theory of change for your project and gather data and fundraise for it, and all these elements which are required to set up a decent football for development project? We found that there are quite literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people around the world that are in that position. And within the network that we were a part of, Teach for All, which is kind of Teach First in about 70 countries around the world, we opened an application process up, and we got applications from all around the world of teachers saying, hey, I'm just like you, like I want to use football, but I need money to buy the kit. I need some support in how to design the project. And so that's become our model of supporting incredible teachers and leaders who are already in schools, already in challenging communities, but maybe don't know exactly how to set their project up for success. And so at this point, we've supported nearly 50 of them and started to create this network between them. And every year we get 100 applications of new project leaders wanting to join the network. So the need, the demand is there.
I've seen that as a real trend actually, and a couple of interviewees on Parasport. There's a guy who uses boxing in the Midlands to mentor young people. There's a lady who uses horse riding for the disabled, and various other things, who have kind of realised that they're in one particular part of the world, but they could yield immense kind of power and good by helping others deliver deliver programs according to the process. So that's really exciting. It makes a lot of sense. And you're currently in Colombia, right?
Yeah, I'm in Colombia. Yeah, I've been living in Colombia for 14 years. And a project, when I was living here, I set up a football project to connect public school with a private school and to get kids from different backgrounds, which in Colombia is very unusual because there's a lot of inequality here, division between different groups and so on. But that project was so successful that it led to the creation of an organization in Colombia called Co-School, which has been going ever since and focuses on social and emotional learning, character education, projects for training teachers, school leaders, even impacting policy now in Colombia on these topics. And so, yeah, I got stuck in Colombia, you could say. But thanks really to the first project I did with Huracan. One thing led to another. And I'm still here, as a social entrepreneur running one of Colombia's leading innovative companies on social and emotional education.
Brilliant. It's great to hear how widely football is being used for good, and you've quite deliberately gone for a fairly even male-female split. Is that right? I think you've got kind of 47% of people using your programs that are girls.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually, I think the numbers, if they were updated now, I think maybe even tip in the favor of girls. We found that lots of our project leaders, firstly, are women, and lots of them, lots of women are interested in using football in these types of communities around the world. And that football in itself, because football is often a male-dominated sport, or is something where women are excluded in many countries, or not given the same chance to play, that football is a sport that actually, when you get girls playing and you get women involved, it starts to level the playing field, as men go past and see, hey, like, there are girls playing, wait, and they're actually pretty good, and like, okay, so it changes perceptions. We've supported a project in Nepal in the Himalayas, which set up the first girls football league, where you had different schools traveling to play each other, and it was for girls, which was incredible, because normally these girls would be doing manual chores, or they'd be out in the fields helping their parents, while maybe the boys were doing other leisure activities, but the girls weren't allowed. But this project, led by an incredible guy called Mingma, started to change perceptions there, and really and develop self-confidence in the girls, so to show them that they're capable of doing anything. We've got other stories in Uganda, a project that we supported, which is all about, it's within a girls' boarding school, and the girls have to attend school in order to play football. So they use football as kind of like a motivating factor for school attendance, for school performance. And some of these girls have now gone on to play in the Ugandan under 17 women's team, under 19 women's team. Some amazing stories. We've got Fiona in northern Uganda, who's on the border with South Sudan, and it's a project which is specifically for young women that are mothers, and have therefore become excluded from their communities because they've become mothers at a young age, and so they get no support. And this is also connected to a refugee camp. So they're women who have basically been exiled from their communities, and the football project became a way for them to get together, to have a safe space, to develop their physical skills, their emotional skills, to have a place where they could be together. And so, yeah, these amazing images of like women breastfeeding while they're on the touchline, creating this incredible environment of safety and of kind of sisterhood between them. Those are just a few stories, of which there are many more.
I want to keep hearing them, to be honest. I mean, you must be so proud of like the diverse places that you've taken Huracan to. So you mentioned Uganda, you mentioned Nepal. Where else?
Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Armenia. We supported a project that was basically in an active war zone in Armenia, where one of the risks was, the sirens would go off and kids would have to go indoors because there were quite literally shells falling from the sky. Mexico is a place where we supported a lot of projects. Argentina, where we're actually helping to take a group of kids from a very rural part of Argentina, are on their way to Mexico to represent Argentina at the Street Child United World Cup. It's the first time any of them have left the country, and they're going there to represent Argentina, the world champions in the Street Child World Cup. And that wouldn't have happened without the Huracan Foundation going in, supporting them, and empowering a local leader, incredible guy called Juan, to make that happen. So yeah, it's amazing, the diverse reach of impact. But I think the wonderful thing is that it's always about empowering and accelerating great local initiatives that are already going on. And so it's not about, parachuting in or like depends on us, or it's about empowering local leadership so that the projects can continue. And we're just there to give them a big shove and say, look, like, go for it. Like, here's what you need for the next couple of years. Take this thing to the next level, and then the sky's the limit. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
How are you funded, Henry? What's the kind of, is it the normal charity mix, or tell us a bit, because you're so international.
Yeah, pretty normal charity mix. We're now at the stage where we get some grant funding. We have some really important partners that have supported us for several years, maybe with a specific country focus. We continue to sell shirts to the fans in Argentina. Amazingly, over the years, we've probably generated about $100,000 in revenue from selling kit to the fans in Argentina. So you go to the Huracan Stadium and you'll see fans wearing the shirt. And amazingly, that is funding projects in Uganda, Mexico, Zimbabwe, Nepal, and the Philippines, and all around the world, India. A working class Argentinian football fan is spending his savings on buying, our kit, and that's having this impact around the world, which I think is one of the most extraordinary kind of elements of the story. And yeah, when we do other fundraising partnerships with schools, people running marathons, doing challenges, and so on. And like every small charity out there, looking to be as efficient as possible and to ensure as much of the resource and the money gets directly, to the communities.
Yeah, and to the for the Argentinian fans of Huracan, are lots of them involved in the foundation and the work that you do?
I mean, over the years, lots of them have been involved in a number of different ways. Like there's an incredible graphic designer that did all of the branding for us, all of our graphic design. There's a Huracan fan who wrote a book inspired by the stories of Huracan in Uganda, and another Huracan fan illustrated that book, and then they sell that book at book fairs and bookshops in Argentina to raise funds for the foundation. There are Huracan fans who have traveled to Uganda to visit all of the projects and create like kind of a documentary about all of the projects, which if you go to our Instagram, you can see a guy called Gaspard who traveled and visited, backpacking across all of the different projects. So there is a very special link between us, the club, the fans, and that link continues to be there. And probably like an exciting development. This is also there's a full motion picture movie in the works to tell the whole story. So currently in early discussions with Netflix and others about potentially creating a movie. A friend of mine called Alex Cooper has written a full movie script to document the whole story of Huracan London. So if the movie gets made, it'll be we'll have to do a red carpet in Buenos Aires and in London.
It absolutely deserves to be made. And you mentioned something earlier which just got me thinking a little bit. So the tournament, where is it? Is it the Mexicans going to Argentina? Was that right?
Yeah, Argentinians going to Mexico.
Argentinians going to Mexico. Sorry. Now you're dealing with a lot of kind of communities that are largely in poverty. Lots of them, and travel isn't an opportunity that lots of them have. Is that something in your kind of future vision that you'd like to be helping some of these communities actually travel and learn that way and share their stories?
Yeah, of course. We would love to. I think we're all that the Huracan story begins with, an English guy in Argentina, crossing borders and, having an experience in a different country. And then it's about bringing that back to the UK and so on. So, and that logo or the badge of Huracan is a balloon, a hot air balloon, because Huracan was founded by a guy called Jorge Newbery, who was the first person to travel in a hot air balloon from Argentina to Uruguay. So this idea of travel, of connection, of exploring new territories is actually very kind of built into what Huracan means. We did this incredible thing in 2023 where we brought in to Argentina about 20 of our project leaders from 11 countries around the world. So we had people coming in from India, from Nepal, and from Uganda, from Zimbabwe, and Nigeria, and Mexico, and Peru, and Colombia, all meeting in Buenos Aires. It was incredibly complex to get everyone's visa, but we somehow managed to do it. And it was just, an incredible, crazy experience. And we'd love to continue to repeat that. I mean, the fact that that Huracan from Chaco in Argentina going to Mexico is really inspiring, and hopefully we can continue to have more gatherings like that. We've dreamed of could you bring together more of our projects, not just the leaders, but some of the young people from our projects into one place, and that would be incredible.
Brilliant. And what's your over all the time that you've been doing this, what's been your proudest moment? And there must be so many, but what is the proudest moment for you?
The proudest moment for me, well, of course, having everyone together in Argentina was very, very special, and having this kind of moment of connection between all of our project leaders from around the world, and having fans go up to our project leaders from Uganda, hugging them, crying, saying, thank you for what you've done to take Huracan to your communities. And the project leader saying, no, thank you, because you've helped me, transform lives in my community. So that was pretty special. Another moment that maybe sticks out for me personally was a couple of years ago. I was in a university here in Colombia, and just one of the top universities here. And I got into a lift, to go up the floors, and someone's just caught kind of my attention and looked up to me and said, Henry, Coach Henry. And I was like, oh my God, Juan Manuel, what are you doing here? And it was the captain of the first Huracan project that we'd started in Colombia in 2012, 2013. So fast forward 10 years, he's won a scholarship to one of the top universities in Colombia. And, we obviously stopped and had a chat, and, I got his number and I spoke to his dad, and he was like, the football project that we did made such a big difference to me. You got me playing against private schools. You got me, out my comfort zone. You helped me develop all these skills where I was a bit of a naughty boy in school and was a bit disengaged, but football helped give me purpose and helped show me, what I was capable of. And there he is now, he's won a really prestigious scholarship to a top university. And you realize you've played a role in that. You've played a role in in the stepping stones of a young person's life. That's always amazing.
So a couple of short bits. Tell me in your words, having seen everything that you've seen, tell me in 20 or 30 seconds, what is the power of sport?
The power of sport is connection. People can connect through sport regardless of age, race, religion, or nationality. The Huracan London and the Huracan Foundation story is such a great example of that. English and Argentinian people connecting through football, and then taking that connection to 18 countries around the world. That's the power of football. That's the power of sport.
Yeah. And in your vision, again, 30 seconds, where do you see Huracan going over the next few years?
So I'm pretty optimistic that the Huracan Foundation will have supported over 100 projects within a few years' time, which will be amazing. And also we want to have developed a universal methodology, a framework that we can share openly with the world. Say, look, this is how you set up a project for football for development in difficult, challenging circumstances with low resources. This is how you do it, because we're obviously developing a lot of knowledge and learning from everything that we're doing. So we want also to create that knowledge and share it with the world.
Yeah, love it. I mean, the whole thing's absolutely inspiring. So the film, can't wait. That's got to happen. Yeah, have you not written a book on this yet or anything? You must be tempted.
When we hit 100 projects, maybe we'll write the book and we'll capture some stories from the 100 projects.
A fascinating read. Yeah, brilliant. Look, Henry, thanks so much for your time to connect Sunday League football with an Argentinian football club, with this incredible work that you're doing, and you're helping others to deliver in such a range of countries. I think we'll do well to match that sort of inspirational story on the Power of Sport. So thank you very, very much, and keep doing amazing things. I'm really going to follow your story. I want people that I know to think about how they might get involved as well. So
yeah, sure. I'll that'd be amazing. If anyone's got any good ideas and wants to collaborate, or wants to set up a charity match in London, or corporate partnerships, you want to put your logo on the Huracan shirts around the world, whatever it might be, always open to collaboration. School fundraising, all open to collaboration and any ideas.
Love that. That's brilliant. Henry, thanks so much, and speak again soon. Thank you.
Okay, cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.